Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So thank you so much for joining us at our Invest Hong Kong webinar series. So this time, we are just so privileged to talk about a very hot topic, the wealth tech, embrace wealth tech, grabs opportunity. Now, obviously, I think for those of you who might not be following the news of Hong Kong, now wealth management has been such a big topic in recent years. And judging by some of the headline news, from the HSBC, the Standard Chartered, the Citibank, hiring a massive amount of resources to really beef up the GBA positioning. You can tell that there's just a lot of opportunities and interest there. And also for those of you who may not know, there's some fun facts that actually of all the high net worth folks in all of China, 1/5 of them actually reside in the GBA. And also Hong Kong actually has the 5th highest density of high net worth, actually very high net worth individual. They have a different definition that push the number higher. So obviously, there's just so much wealth in Hong Kong that we need help from professional asset and wealth managers, and at the same time, the new generation of wealth tech players that we are so privileged to have on the panel today. And I guess we'd like to start off with some really sincere gratitude to our 3 speakers with Ruth Aurora, CEO with Skype, and Gregory Van, the CEO of Endows, both companies from Singapore, and then with Mr. Hai Tao, too, team leader of wealth management, Longbridge. Again, it's just such a privilege to have, I guess, these leading experts to share with us this really hard field. Now, at the same time, I just want to also thank our good friend, Jasmine Lee, a partner of Chinese inbound business leader, and also the lead of virtual banking sector of financial services of EY to be our moderator today. And last but not least, I just want to also thank some very important supporting organizations. So the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Institute of Bankers, and Hong Kong Institute Funds of Association. So basically, I think without their support, it's really hard for us to get to reach out to so many great members of this association who are really our target audience, that we are really hopeful that we can share some of the latest and greatest developments in this field to all of you. So I really hope that you can enjoy today's session. So with that, I just want to hand over to our moderator, Jasmine, so you can take it from here.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Jasmine.
Sure. Thank you very much, King. Good morning. You're really my good friend. And thank you very much for inviting me to be the moderator of this very interesting, I hope, the embracing the wealth tech session. And for information of all the audiences right now, as King has indicated, I'm the financial service partner for UI, and I was actually also leading the virtual banking sector back then as well. I was, have been heavily, participating in a lot of fintech development all along within this few years, and I do see a lot of developments in Hong Kong and also all over the world. Now, I also want to set a brief scene. As a UI professional consultant, we do see a lot of developments and trends going. Sorry about the voice in the morning. I want to set a very brief scene, as to sort of helping everyone to understand, why we are here in the Friday morning, spending an hour to look at, what wealth tech, why is it so important? There is a couple of points that I want to share before I call upon the speakers to present a presentation of their own for all the audiences. Now, first of all, we do see wealth tech trend is a very positive one going on, both in Hong Kong and also all over the world. Second, we also see there are actually a lot of different wealth technology applications popping up all around the world, and most important of all, there are also a lot of active investment for venture capital funds to make investments in all these startups, companies who are providing a lot of innovative digital wealth management tools. Now, and I also see there are a lot of companies building up their own ecosystems, because we do find that the end user right now, being the investors, their participation mode is actually gradually changing. They want to have more direct interaction, more convenient way of obtaining their advice, willing to try new ways, including AI, robo advisory, and that means actually a lot of traditional sort of the old, more traditional type advisory intermediaries are actually losing a bit of their dominance in the market, coping with the needs of the new generation, and also a population which is more exposed to the what we call technology and innovation. And last but not least, we do see also a lot of micro investing momentum growing rapidly, with individuals wanting to really invest their money in a smarter way. And also we do see there is a trend, probably our panelists will also elaborate a bit more. They are not only wanting to invest, in the most profitable way. They might actually want to, have their investments being done to achieve some of their, goals that they want to aspire or to fulfill, something that they really want to invest in, and they prefer to invest in that, option. So I do think, that's very important, and the entire wealth tech is a really important area that I do think a lot of us should actually learn a bit more, right? Okay. So it's very honored that we can have, myself moderating here, and also with three very distinguished speakers, providing their insights. So without any delay, I want to call upon Dhruv, the CEO and founder of Sky, to prepare, to present or prepare that and talk to our audience. Thank you, Dhruv.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, King, for having me here. I think it's always very interesting to speak as virtually as I can in Hong Kong, because that's where I started my career in finance, and most of my professional career was with UBS in Hong Kong as a portfolio trader, and then of course with ETF distribution. So somewhere that was the genesis of where Saif started. Saif is a digital wealth management platform based out of Singapore and licensed by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Our mission is very simple. We want to make high quality financial solutions accessible to individuals across Asia, no matter where they are in life or how much they have to invest. How we do it is largely by using proprietary technology, which we have built in-house over the years. And this allows us to offer personalized and customized portfolios to our users. I'll probably present a few slides to walk you through our journey. Okay. So as with any new age solution, the way how we build our product, though it's available on web, it also has a seamless app experience. But it's not just about choosing portfolios. A lot of it is also helping you understand what is right for you. Hence, we have built a very interesting forecasting tool, which can actually help users go through the different options and see what kind of expectation they can have in a due period of time. This is completely free. So give it a spin. You can give it a go from Hong Kong as well. Now, quickly about Saif's journey, right? I think we've been now building Saif for almost about 3.5 years, but officially we've been only around for the last 2 years after we got a license. So we only launched in July of 2019. But few interesting facts in our journey is that, almost half of our users coming these days are coming from referrals and word of mouth, which is very encouraging, where existing users are promoting Saif to other users. Our youngest customer is 18 years old. Our oldest is 93. Fun fact, this gentleman is completely app-driven, does not go on our website. But that, I think, to me, gives you the power of what financial inclusion and technology can do. We have customers from 42 countries worldwide. Our AUM has been growing very steadily and has grown 4x since the start of this year. In fact, in some of the personal finance apps, there were certain days we were in the top 10 apps. And this is one of the days where we were in the top 6 apps at the App Store in Singapore. We are rated highly in local blogs. And we've actually have our onboarding now, which takes about just 3 to 5 minutes. All this has led us to just recently close a very significant funding round, which has led now our funded amount to be north of $50 million or over 400 million Hong Kong dollars, making us a very well-capitalized player. As I mentioned, we are licensed by MAS. Now, one thing very important is the way, at least how we operate in Singapore, is the customer assets are completely segregated. So this is, one of the big concerns of what happens with the new age players if something happens to the player itself. The way how we are structured, and this is where high quality regulators like MAS and SFC come in, they have insisted that our assets are completely segregated to any other customer assets. So even if something happens to Saif, the assets of the customers are safe and safeguarded with leading players such as DBS, HSBC, as the case might be. Now, quickly a bit about the kind of team we have. As you can see, we have team from probably every big bank in the world, but not just the big banks, also some leading technology companies such as Adobe or Lazada, as the case might be. And I think that is one of the very unique things about us, right? We come with deep financial experience, but we are blending it with deep consumer tech experience to build this offering for our users. Getting through some of our team, as you can see, it's a very diversified team, but coming from across industries, across expertise, just bringing it all together to build a great customer experience. I mentioned about our fundraising earlier. We were very lucky to be backed by Valar, which is one of the leading fintech funds in the world. Some of you might know they were the earliest and the biggest investor of TransferWise, which recently had a very successful IPO in UK. Right? Then lastly, well, people ask us, well, everyone's doing these things, but when you build these products, what is something that you really pride yourself about? And I think what we really pride ourselves about is the transparency in what we build. When we build our pricing was an all-inclusive pricing. It's calculated on a daily basis, so you only pay for as long as you use. But it's not just that. There is no trading fees, there is no entry, exit charges, there is no minimum. You can invest as little as $1. You can withdraw anytime, you can rebalance anytime. And whenever we choose ETFs, which we think are more efficient for our products, we do ensure that we use low management fees. I would love to talk some more about it, but in wake of the time we have, I'll pause here and pass it on back to Jasmine.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ruth. We will proceed with more questions for you, Ruth, okay, later on. Now we go ahead with Greg Endows. Greg, so time for your presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. Like Dhruv, I've spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. I think my formative years. So I grew up in Hong Kong from 0 to 14 years old. Hong Kong is very close to my heart. My parents still live in Hong Kong, and I hope one day to move back to Hong Kong myself. So a really quick introduction on Endows. We are a wealth tech company based in Singapore, licensed by MAS, and are very happy and proud to be backed by world-class investors and brands, including the likes of SoftBank Ventures, Lightspeed from the US and India, UBS, the largest wealth manager in the world, made their first fintech investment in Asia in Endows just a few months ago, as well as Samsung and Singtel, the largest telco in the region here. We won multiple awards for what we have built so far in our short journey, where we help people grow their money holistically. In a very quick nutshell, this is what we do. We help people invest better so they can live easier today and better tomorrow. We build tools to allow them to do this. We build portfolios that match the needs in their life. Portfolios that they would not be able to build otherwise on their own because of the types of products we are using in them. Not that they are complex, but that they are lower cost and institutionally managed. Traditionally, many of our products are only available through institutions. In a nutshell, Endows is a fee-only wealth platform. In Singapore, we are the first and remain the only digital advisor for both private wealth, like cash savings, and public pension savings, which in Singapore is a central provident fund and supplementary retirement scheme, CPF and SRS, the equivalent of Hong Kong's MPF. And we're very proud to say that we are planning and we are coming to Hong Kong very soon. We bring together a lot of institutional investment and wealth management advisory, as well as technology. Myself, I started my career at UBS in Singapore in the investment bank. and joined Grab Taxi, which was what it was called then, now Grab, in 2015. And among other things, I was very fortunate to start the payment business at Grab before leaving in 2017 to start Endows. On my left is Sam, my business partner. Before Endows, he was 17 years with Morgan Stanley Investment Management in Asia, his last role as the CEO and Chief Investment Officer for the Asia office. We have a whole bunch of other people, many from technology and from finance, global MDs, VPs of wealth management, people in product from ByteDance, Lyft, Dropbox, etc. And we've really, I think it's very important that as a fintech company, we are not just fin and not just tech. We really want to bring the two together to help people access better products at lower cost with aligned and suitable advice. And what we're doing is really designing, the next generation digital wealth experience. And we're going to see the world transform in the way they interact with their wealth. And we're just at the cusp of that. So I think a lot of us, people, and I encourage more people to join WealthTech. I encourage more competition in the space because it will make all of us do better. It will make all of us work harder to deliver solutions that our clients need. Now, the model for some fintechs is to disrupt wealth management. And that means to serve the underserved systematically at scale. We all say that we want to do that. And the other is to create algorithms to beat the market. Our view is that this is a bit flawed. We do not think there is a shortage of products in the market. We think the right parts of wealth management need to be disrupted. And we do not need to reinvent the wheel. And we're very, very clear about that, which is why we want to stand on the shoulders of giants, access better products at lower cost. We do this by partnering with global wealth managers and bringing their solutions to the end investor at a lower cost, a lower cost than has ever been seen before in Asia. Here's a list of just a few of the names we work very closely with in Singapore and plan to work with in Hong Kong. From our business in Singapore, which has been a few years now, we have received, I think, acknowledgement from the heads of business in Asia, from some of the largest asset managers. Dimensional, the systematic manager with $600 billion in assets, founded by David Booth, like the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and the significant evolution in the way that Endows has changed the way end investors are able to access their products and receive advice to reach their goals. PIMCO, the biggest fixed income manager in the world, came out and said that we believe Endows is a leader in digital wealth management and really changing the way their products are accessible to the end customer in Singapore. We hope to bring the same to Hong Kong shortly. Really quick timeline of events. We started in 2017. Very, very conservative. We were building up a base. We are, I think this is testament to the way that businesses are able to grow in this technology age. Endows today is growing by over 100 million in assets a month. And that's scaling up as well. We are growing by thousands of clients a month and are about 80 people now, mostly based in Singapore. Without further ado, I will pass it back.
Sure, thank you, Greg. And is really happy and excited. Here, companies will be coming to Hong Kong to join us. So that's a piece of good news. So there will be more questions for you, Greg, later on. And then last but not least, we're going to invite Mr. Tu from Longbridge to introduce, the business, Longbridge to our audience. 涂先生，现在邀请你可以去介绍一下长桥给我们的听众，谢谢。
涂先生，我想你现在应该是 mute 吧？
OK 了吧？
可以可以。
行，谢谢。
我先简单介绍一下我自己我是在美国和中国接受的教育，然后在2016年的时候在香港从事财富管理和基金管理的工作，在去年的6月份来到杭州，一个互联网之都，然后在这里参与创业，做一个互联网券商公司。下面呢我就简单介绍一下长桥公司。长桥呢是一家定位是社交型互联网券商，成立于2019年3月，目前呢只成立了2年时间，但是我们的App 和我们的技术都已经很完善了，目前是一个全功能的互联网券商。我们公司的创始团队核心成员均来自于阿里巴巴的技术团队，致力于连接完整的资产发现、认知、交易环节，以尖端的金融科技为投资者提供新一代互联网证券服务，为投资人呢提供更安全、稳定、丰富、高效的全球投资体验。我们目前呢，其实已经在北京、上海、深圳、杭州、成都，还有香港、新加坡以及新西兰8个地方都有团队，然后覆盖了包括证券交易、内容社区、财富管理以及企业服务在内的4大服务线。牌照方面呢，我们目前其实已经持有了长桥香港已经持有了149香港证监会的149号牌照。目前呢，平台上呢有大约32000种可交易的金融产品。这个是一个简单的这个公司的介绍一些 milestone 包括2019年3月长桥Long Bridge 正式成立2019年9月，就是6个月之后我们的 App 发布。目前现在正在进行的是由香港开始全球布局的第一步。这个是我们公司的2位 co-founder 一位是朱亮亮先生，一位是胡国文先生。2位呢分别都是阿里巴巴超过10年资深的老员工主要是他们朱亮亮呢是阿里妈妈以及淘宝无线、淘宝 Wireless 的创始成员。然后我们的这个胡国文先生呢，其实是红奖设计奖设计的这个得奖人，他拥有丰富的设计和产品运营经验。这里介绍一下我们的股东背景。我们呢，其实现在已经完成了5000万美金的 Pre-A 轮融资，然后主要的投资人呢，包括远景资本，以及新加坡汇利资本 Philip Securities，领萨资本，都是一些比较知名的VC 和PE 基金公司。我们的这个最早的这个投资人呢，包括比如说陆兆禧、王刚、马长伟，这些都是阿里巴巴非常早期的创始人。我们呢目前呢公司呢有4条线，包括证券运营、证券交易、内容社区、财富管理以及企业服务4大业务方向。对，这个呢，就是给大家展示一下，就是目前App 上一些比较有趣的，也比较深受我们的客户欢迎的功能吧。一个功能是 Live Trading， 就是可以在交易的同时呢，与其他的社区的成员一起讨论股价的走势，就是左边的这个 Live Trading。然后右边的功能呢，是一个全面图像以及可视化的投资分析工具。包括这些 technical analysis 还有这个股票它的上下游供应链、公司的供应链以及公司的财务的全景，这些都是图像化的以及比较全面的一些分析工具，免费提供给我们的这个投资人免费提供给我们的客户。这个呢是我们的这个分享功能，就是比如说我最近做了一笔交易，然后做的非常成功或者非常不好，我可以把我的真实的投资记录分享给社区或者是其他的用户，发现供大家讨论嘛，发现一些比较好的投资机会。 另外一方面呢，就是在我们的社区呢，都会有一些热门的话题的讨论以及解读，这些也是非常深受我们的用户喜爱的两个功能分享以及讨论 sharing and discussion。我们呢同时还有一个投行业务线包括承销一些美股和港股的上市公司的 IPO 两个比较成功的，我这里呢放了2个例子，一个是美股的小鹏汽车当时呢认购人数约1万人，然后另外一只呢是蚂蚁集团，蚂蚁集团呢后来没有成功上市，但是呢在我们是出现在它的招股书上，以及成功的有1.2万人认购，虽然最后没有蚂蚁集团因为种种原因没有成功上市我们其他的我们在技术方面的优势呢，主要就是因为我们的这个技术团队，我们的这个公司的基因嘛，就是阿里巴巴的技术团队，所以呢我们在技术方面还是很有自信的包括6个月实现了产品整体的上线时间，就是6个月，2019年3月到9月，然后包括2年内成为了一个综合券商这些都是我们在技术上的一些实力，就是更新和进化的速度非常快我现在就介绍到这里关于长桥公司。
感谢涂先生的介绍。
谢谢你。
So Longbridge is actually already operating in Hong Kong with their licenses, and Longbridge is an online type, brokerage tool medium that can provide their investors with, focusing but mainly by using the social media means, and also a lot of technology, and also we can see that they're actually actively building an ecosystem, for their investors to enjoy their investment journey. So right now, I guess after listening to the presentation of all our 3 speakers, I guess we can go ahead and start our panel discussion. Now, I think my first question will go to Dhruv, if you don't mind, Dhruv. Sure. We talked about at the very beginning when I started saying we're observing there is a change in the global sort of trend in wealth management, and there's a changing landscape, right? With investors having new expectations, with some new millennials or new generations coming in, they have different expectations, and we also see there are actually people different from in the past. It's not really just only billionaires or millionaires that they would have to invest their wealth, right? Even with people who have less wealth, they would still want to invest it smartly. Now, I understand your company and your team has actually strived very hard to provide such a platform, mainly for the individuals, for the retail customers and investors. So I would want to throw a question to you, Dhruv. So what you think are the main challenges, in the future, in providing such a what we call like a robo-advisory type, service that can actually be accessible to the investors and make them happy when they're investing their money?
Sure. I think at least getting to the first part of your question, right? I think when I was in Hong Kong as an ETF trader, right? I think somewhere our goal was always to help the 0.1% become the 0.01%, right? And I think that was obviously one of the driving factors in starting SIFE, because we wanted something which was going to be more, wide in its impact. So one of the things that we always realized for the kind of segment that the new segment that you've been referring to in your question is to actually make such kind of solutions affordable and accessible. Without the middlemen, without complicated jargons, without hidden fees, and without all the little things that really annoys people out of it, right? So I think getting that, for example, just setting those right sets a very good premise in terms of users getting interested in your offering, so as to speak. Now, I think when it comes to the challenges, right, in this space, I think the biggest challenge, if you ask me, is still traditionally inertia, where a lot of people have either never really invested, or even worse, have invested through a misaligned agent or something of that sort, and then have a bitter experience from their past. Now, having people change that inertia and having, that view that, oh, they are new age players, which might not be around for 30, 40 years, but the way how they are built, how they are regulated and how they operate can still offer world-class, financial solutions is, I think, the first challenge, if you ask me, that users face, right? I think the second thing is that people always wanted solutions which are investing purposefully. And that is something I think you touched on a bit earlier. And I think it was very tough for users to actually do it, right? I want to obviously be invested, but I want to be invested with a good cause. So it's quite interesting. And at least in Singapore next week, we are launching solutions which are focusing towards people who want to look at ESG or, disruptive tech, things which basically they want in a way which are catering to, investing with purpose so as to see. And I think the third challenge I think I see is that as we cross some of these earlier thresholds of inertia and giving the ability to people to invest purposefully, is as users get more advanced, and they are advancing at a much rapid pace today, they will want a level of customization and personalization. So we strongly believe, one size does not fit all. Of course, there is what we call in our world the core kind of offerings, which we think should be a large part of anyone's investment thesis. But at the same time, there's a satellite on the side, which should be personalized and customized to an individual, because they might be in a life event, they might have won a lottery, or they might be under financial stress. So having that ability to personalize and customize at scale, I think is going to be one very interesting challenge that we foresee, but something that we actually look forward to face as with time passing by.
Sure, thank you, Drew. I think the point that you raised on inertia, I think that's a very good point. And that is actually being also seen in Hong Kong, I guess, as a city who is actually being exposed to a lot of technology and new innovation in recent years. That particular inertia concept, I think we will come, back later with other speakers, getting their inputs in. Now, when you talk about there may be a customization of investment that investors are wanting right now, I want to get the question to Greg, because when we talk about at the very beginning, there may be different purpose for investors to invest money in right now, other than just making money. What is your view on it, based on your experience, Greg? I also understand that ESG is also a very important trend right now. A lot of people want to get, really get involved in this, even for probably, when they're investing their money. So what is your experience with that, Greg?
Yeah, so I think, our North Star, so what we focus on at Endows is very simple. Advice that is, scientifically backed. So that means not trying to time the market or time certain sectors or build algorithmic strategies that, we think can beat the market because they look good on a back test. The great managers have been practitioners in the market for a very long time. And what makes sense is allocating to their strategies that make sense for you and your personal goals. So we care about advice, access to products at a lower cost. And that cost has to be fair. And when I say fair, I mean the fees have to be free of misalignment. What we see very often, especially in all of Asia for that matter, most financial products are sold with very, very big kickbacks to the distributors. And that is very dangerous because now as a distributor, I'm always incentivized to sell certain funds that would pay me more. So when you go on the Endows platform, you could have a goal that is 6 months away, or a house down payment that you're planning for in 3 years, or your child's education starting in 10 years and ending in 15 years, or you're planning for your retirement, or you need a pocket of money to help your parents retire. These are all different goals that require different levels of systematic risk. in markets. And at Endows, we help you build those buckets of money towards those specific goals so that you are not chasing your own tail, trying to beat the market and, day trading stocks, which is what ends up happening quite often. And as everyone knows, the average investor does around inflation over a 20-year period, returns around 2.5%. That should not be the case when global markets are returning anywhere from 7 to 10%. So what is the right level of risk you can take for each of your goals? And then in particular on ESG, so environmental, social, and governance, sustainable investing, Endows launched earlier this year a stream of portfolios at every level of risk that were ESG focused. These are still globally diversified portfolios. So they're not like trying to take certain bets on certain markets and things like that. And I think what we're seeing is institutional capital moving to ESG. Institutional capital has an ESG mandate where they need to allocate a certain amount by a certain date. And we've seen this happening in the news over and over again, more pension funds and sovereign wealth funds saying they will invest with an ESG lens. And yes, you're investing because in these companies because they are better for society and the world than relatively better, I would say, than other companies. And with the institutional capital shifting over, why should the individual miss out on that? And what platforms like Endows allow us to do is deliver these institutional quality portfolios at scale at the click of a button. And we're not managing these portfolios ourselves. They are with, PIMCO, Morova, Robeco, Schroders, etc. These are institutional active managers from around the world who have been investing ESG for the last 20 years. And we are making their solutions available to the end investor at the correct level of risk for each of your goals. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you, Gregory. Thank you. Now we move on to invite Mr. Tu to share on another very important aspect, using the social media and also technology, and also during the process building up the ecosystem for the investors. So 涂先生，我们其实理解到长桥其实是非常的在利用你们的这个社交的媒体还有一些的科技来去吸引你们的客户。那么你们还有就是说这个有一个我们讲的一个非常非常重要的一个concept 一个环节，就是你们的发现认知跟这个交易就是 discovery and then learning and then trading 我们能否请涂先生再分享一下，就是你们怎么来去运用这个3个环节令到你们的这个投资者是更能够去收到一些他们想知道的一些的information 一些的他们应该是有用的一些提示。然后还有非常重要的就是怎么能够确保就是他们的认知其实也是正确没有误导的成分的那么这个是很重要的。涂先生可以分享一下吗？谢谢。
谢谢。第一个事情是 social media 就是我们发现呢，就是现在的客户群呢，可能 80% 都是小客户，然后现在呢，还有就是 millennium 这一代人呢，他们其实获取信息的方式更多的是来源于一些新兴的媒介所以呢，就比如说我们在做社区内容的时候呢，就会在这上面投入很多，包括比如说举个例子，就是比如说对一个新闻的解读，以及它这个新闻对股票产生的影响，我们可能会从很多个方面来去做这件事情，把信息给到我们的客户包括短视频，比如说TikTok 上的 short video包括长视频，比如说哔哩哔哩 YouTube 上的long video 包括深度的文章，就是 in-depth essay， 然后包括社区的讨论，就比如说KOL 的 discussion， 包括还有包括一些 live 直播，就是 live streaming， 这些呢我们都是在试图给客户给我们的投资者一个全面的信息，不光是来自于我们的信息或者是新闻上的信息，也包括其他行业的人的信息解读，以及他的朋友们或者是更资深的投资人的一些信息。这是关于 social media 方面的另外一个就是你刚才讲的那个第二个问题，就是关于 misinformation 和 disinformation 的问题我们的观点呢，就是第一就是要给这个用户一个比较全景的东西，就是give our customer a full picture, unbiased picture。所以就是我们在这方面的试图就是会传达给我们能找到的所有的信息，以及包括我们能找到的一些用户信息，就是 UGC 的内容都会传达给他。第二点呢，就是我们自己在这些事情上呢，可能是没有任何立场的。就比如说对某一些，就比如说对举个例子，就比如说阿里巴巴的股票，因为阿里巴巴本身我们很多员工是阿里巴巴前阿里巴巴的员工，包括我们的一些投资人也是阿里巴巴的早期员工和 co-founder， 但是我们对阿里巴巴公司和阿里巴巴的这个股票上的看法，可能就是一个中立的 neutral not favor or nor against the company 我们只是一个提供给客户所有的信息以及持有的一个中立的立场。
OK， 感谢涂先生。So I guess in summary, 2 points that Mr. Tu has actually clarified with regards to, first of all, the information that they are actually sharing with the newer generations. I guess they are playing a lot of focus on making sure the information given out is correct, accurate, objective. And for example, even like news, interpretation of the news and stories around, they would want to make sure all their information disseminated to the open public is actually not being having some prejudiced content. So this is very important. Making sure the contents are correct. And second of all is Mr. Tu is actually emphasizing Longbridge never takes a stance and a position on a particular topic or a particular content or a particular company which is being advised on. So these are the 2 major points that Mr. Tu has pointed out. Now, I think it's time to get to probably more challenging questions or more difficult questions for our panelists. Now, back to you, Dhruv. I understand site actually is rapidly growing, and I do believe probably a number of your customers are actually got into as a new customer being referred by the existing customer, who have already enjoyed your the services provided by SAF. So there's a lot of trust, branding, aspect here. So I guess it's very important for you, right, Dhruv, as a founder and CEO, leading your team, to make sure the trust is on there, and also things like data and information that those aspects are probably monitored, so that the confidence will never be lost for your customers. So any insights that you can share with our audience based on your experiences?
Sure. So we are really proud of the fact that, as you mentioned, right, nearly half of our new users are referred by our existing users, right? This goes on to say the positive satisfaction that they've had in experiencing the platform and on the mission which we are building. Now, the reality is that building trust is obviously something that cannot be done overnight. We've worked very hard over the years to actually build out this trust with our users. And this happens on multiple fronts. But if I can maybe pull out 3 things which I think are relevant, I think the first would be that what we call on our side as consistent delivery. Now, this could be across the user experience, but to begin, it could be just starting pretty much with the moment when they put in their inflows. In fact, today, if as a user, you would put in your inflow before, let's say 11 a.m., we are able to process it the same day. Now, this is something which has not been typically possible for a very long time, given how processes work. I think the second thing that's going to build out trust is innovation on the product front. I think, we, as you know, when we build our portfolios, we build in some cases portfolios where if it makes sense, we buy the underlyings, but majority of our portfolios do working with the largest ETF managers like BlackRock, like Vanguard, like State Street. And working with them, we've been able to build portfolios that curate to specific user needs. And as I was mentioning, an extension of that is the kind of personalization, customization, which we are adding on starting next week, where if you're a savvy user, you can pick and choose what you want. But if you are, someone who is a new user, you can go with the pre-curated themes such as, ESG or clean energy. And I think the third pillar of building trust is about data safety, something we take very, very seriously. All, for example, customer information is in local servers. Now, in Singapore, that means it's in Singapore servers. As you know, it's public now that we will be launching Hong Kong soon. So when we get into Hong Kong, it will be all in Hong Kong servers as well. Now, when you add to that with standard protocols like multi-factor authentication, a robust recovery process in case the users forget their identity details, and when you add to that the aspect of segregating customer assets away from SAIF assets, so if there's a misfortune to the company, it doesn't really impact customers in terms of their assets. So I think again, to summarize, I think building trust is a constant journey. I think we have made some strides, but a long way to go. But in summary, I think it's consistent delivery of experience for the user, product innovation, as well as data safety. And I think those three reasons are the primary reasons we've been able to get the early inroads in that trust building exercise.
Okay, sure, thank you, Drew. Now, going back on going back to the very first comment, or the inertia aspect that Drew has actually commented on. I want to know, Greg, based on your experience with Endows, what is your view on how to remove this inertia from people who are probably more reluctant to be trying on new means to do these investments or try new things. Now I understand that you also, Endows, has actually been doing a lot at the very beginning to help advise on people in your country to make investment on your, for example, the contribution money for employees and SRS, and so that probably is a new experience with people over there. So what is your experience in this inertia aspect that you can recommend us to learn from?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think what Drew said about trust makes total sense, and client referrals. People, not everyone is an expert in finance, right? I mean, I think if you're on this webinar today, we're probably already very interested in finance. But I think what we have to be empathetic towards is that not everyone is an expert in finance, and they need assurances from their friends, from the experts on what will work for them. We're in the business of trust. I mean, I think Drew and I in particular, because we're not brokers. So I think when you're a broker, when I say I want to buy a share of Tencent, they can deliver that share of Tencent, and you would say, oh, that worked. But when you're a wealth platform, I'm asking you to trust me. That's a very different storyline. And I think we've done a few things to safeguard that and to help clients move into this digital age, which will be lower cost, which means they'll have better outcomes, more aligned, which means they'll have better outcomes. One way of doing that is, we created a double ledger system with UOB Kay Hian, the largest broker here in Singapore. So when you create an account at Endows, you get an account in your own name at UOB-Kay Hian. None of the, well, most of the other wealth platforms have not done this. This is another reason why Endows is the first and remains the only digital advisor for the Central Provident Fund in Singapore. So you can invest your public pension savings via Endows, and we can, and then from UOB-Kay Hian and then into the network of the banks, we can take your public pension savings and invest it in your portfolio of choice. So these types of things are helping people get over the inertia, but I think it will take time. It really will. Adoption will take time because it's traditionally always been a very, hand-to-hand business. But as Dhruv mentioned, and we have clients in their 90s as well, but as Dhruv mentioned, his 90-year-old client is app only. So I think everyone will change over. I mean, 10 years from now, I cannot imagine a world where fewer people will be doing digital wealth rather than more people. So I think for all of us here, it's a very exciting time to be a part of the evolution.
Sure. I agree with all of what Brett has mentioned. It takes time, but we'll be there, especially with Invest Hong Kong, getting a lot of seminars and educational sessions for all of us. That will happen. Now, we want to hear from Mr. Tu with regards to how to actually catch up with all these technology. With all the competition around and the increasing costs and how can actually this thing happen in a even in a better way. 涂先生，另外一个问题就是你们长桥作为一个互联网的券商哈，那么你们也是非常的重视这个科技哈，那么还有就是社交媒体哈，那么你刚才讲到那么在你们这个领导下边哈，就是你们是需要不断的去优化你们的科技哈，那么还有就是很多的创新，对吧？还有就是去建立那个生态圈的时候很多不同的一些新鲜的事物那么当然是有很多的竞争了那么成本各个方面都会增加那么你们怎么去平衡这个我们去花你们去花这个钱去提高你们的竞争力不但令到他们有效，但是也令到你们能够是一个 sustainable 的 business 能够继续发展的这个业务你能分享一下吗，涂先生？
行，谢谢。我想可能从3个方面来说吧。第一个方面呢，就是因为我们本身是 Internet company 嘛，所以 Internet company 其实在做我们的 App 和基础设施的时候，最大的一个考虑就是 scale。所以对我们来说，服务1万个客户和10万个客户可能是一样的。但是成本是一样的，但是我们的 revenue 可能会更多，对吧？这是第一个问题，就是 scalability is a building gene for us。第二个呢是那个交易工具和交易品种的丰富，就是像比如说很多小客户可能对期权不是很了解，所以呢可能比如说我们会给他们更多的关于期权方面的教育和资讯这样呢，他在他更加 professional 的同时呢，他也会给我们增加新的revenue。这些人可能本来他并不会做期权的交易所以这是第二点第三点就是一些value added service， 就比如说对 financial advisor 和对 broker 来说我们可能会在那个交易品种和交易工具上都比较丰富，但是对一些附加服务上并不是很重视。就比如说tax 的优化，还有 tax 的tax 的一些咨询上，然后还有比如说大客户的融资，就比如说一个企业融资上，可能这些都做得不是很好。所以呢，我们也会在这个第3方面，就是一个综合服务上面会着力更多。我总结一下，就是3点。Let me summarize. First of all is scalability is our building gene for internet companies. Second of all is to give our customers more knowledge and empower them to trade more financial instruments, for example, like options. The last of all is we are trying to be a more comprehensive and broker and advisor, and give our customers more services, including like tax consultation and financing consultation.
So that's excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess it's almost time, but I want to ask King, who's sitting beside me, one more question. With this continuous momentum in applying technology in a very different sector of financial services, overall, and also with GBA that we're always talking about right now, which are providing tremendous opportunity for us, especially with Wealth Connect, which I'm sure there'll be more investors, both cross-border, will be investing cross-border and exploring, different products and using probably more innovative ways. And also with the emphasis of our country in the 14th five-year plan, still emphasizing a lot on Hong Kong maintaining its position as the IFC and also the international asset management center, wealth management center. I do see there's a lot of opportunities, especially for what we've been mentioning for the past hour, WealthTech. So what is your recommendation in your remarks for all of us, King?
Well, I think before I answer this question, I'd like to perhaps ask for the perhaps consent or permission from our speakers, whether or not you guys can stick around a bit longer, because I'm also conscious of time. But then I also see like a flooding in of questions. Now, to be honest, we run quite a lot of webinars, but this one is one of the most active, right, in terms of the enthusiasm we got from the crowd. So I think if this is okay, I think we might extend a bit so that we can at least spend some time for Jasmine to facilitate some Q&A for the 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay.
Now, 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now, so I think let me just give a quick answer. Now, at the end of the day, we are just very privileged that we have so many great companies coming to Hong Kong, because obviously we have just so much wealth coming to, I think, the GBA because of the factors I mentioned earlier. Now, and naturally, I think we also have been very blessed to attract some of the leading WealthTech companies around the world, so that we are able to provide, I think, more choices, to the firms, and to the both institutional as well as the individual consumers for choices. So we are exactly doing that in terms of the education, so that I think more of the audience in the community can get more access to the leading technology, leading services in the WealthTech space. And this is something we'll continue to do. And last but not least, I just want to say that when we are looking at how, I think there's a question about how best to choose, WealthTech, let's say between the Hong Kong market versus Singapore market. I guess I'll save that question, which is something at the heart for many folks, I can imagine. But I'll save that answer from our distinguished speakers. So in summary, I just want to say that we continue to run this kind of particular WealthTech webinars to basically share more latest information and potential choices for our community stakeholders. So with that, perhaps I would hand it to Jasmine,
Sure.
Perhaps tee up a few questions for the three speakers.
Yeah, I actually see really a lot of questions. That means it's actually good.
Yeah, it's a good
the response
thing,
is good. So thank you very much for all the audience, paying attention and a lot of interest from you guys. Now, I do see a lot of questions actually relate to, it's very interesting in knowing the revenue model and how to do the business. But I do see that one question I think it's pretty good. It's actually there's a audience asking. He would like to ask, how customers can actually choose between robo players. Like I guess this audience is actually thinking, if he's wanting to probably try the new, like robo, WealthTech vendors. What would you be recommending him to, to really look at in order to choose the most appropriate one or the suitable one for him?
Yeah, no, I guess since Greg, you have to go in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it okay we let Greg to speak first?
Yes, absolutely. I think, look, when you're choosing a partner for your wealth, it's almost like choosing a spouse. I don't think it's a decision to be taken lightly. I don't think you should, yes, like get feedback from friends, but I really think you need to do your own research and understand how these platforms are ultimately investing your money. It should not be a fleeting decision. It really should not be. Now, I'm not helping people like adopt our solution quickly by saying this, but when I'm picking a place to put my wealth, that's like that's a 20, 30, maybe even 50-year decision. Yes, I can change later, but that change will be painful and it may be going against my investment philosophy. So to my advice to people, and I tell this to all of our clients, is, okay, great, I've given you this nice webinar, but you need to go and do your own research. There are a lot of resources now online. A lot of these platforms talk about their investment philosophy in webinars, in videos, in podcasts, in articles. Do your research to see what makes the most sense for you and make a decision. Another method I've heard is, I put like, $10,000 in all the platforms and I saw what happened for the first 3 months. That to me is a silly way of going about it, because anyone who's an investor knows that 3 months in equity markets is like no time at all, right? When you're investing in stock markets, 5 years is noise. So my thinking, everyone says, you need to find an investment solution that you can be, passively investing in. Warren Buffett says we make more money when sleeping than when active. All these things, you need to find the right thing to trust and the right system to use to grow your wealth. You don't just pick one and then say, I picked the right one and I'll just forget about it now. That is not, then you're just not serious about your wealth. And I can't help you with that. So that's my point of view. It's a very strong point of view.
Well, I guess that's very.
Well, I guess this is the honest answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
honesty can be brutal. So to Dhruv, any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually do also have to leave in maybe a few minutes, but I will obviously answer this one. I think I'm aligned to what Gregory mentioned, right? I think this is an important decision, right, for people to take. However, I think fortunately now with the advent of easy access through every channel from social media through digital webinars like these, I feel essentially what differentiates the players, and I think we all have a common goal. Our common goal is to actually promote better understanding and people adopt and they do something with their wealth rather than, either losing it out through poor management or even worse, doing nothing about it. I think for users to actually maybe attend a bit of these webinars or go through some of these sessions, understand how some of these products are different. Yes, it will take some time. It's not going to be something that, you can do in a matter of minutes, but it's also not something that's going to take you days, right? In my view, frankly, if you are going to do your research or if you want to speak to individuals like support teams at SAIF or at other players like on this panel, I think over a couple of days, you should be able to build a good perspective of what you're signing up for, right? And you could do the spray and pray approach, as Gregory mentioned, like, put $10,000 everywhere. Or you can find maybe one of the platforms is more aligned to what your value or what your goal is. So when we build our products, we build, okay, there's if you want global diversification, there's X product. If you want passive income, there is Y product. So if that is what your goal, then it's an easy choice. But if it is something which is commonly accessible across platforms, I think spending some time understanding the nuances can be very beneficial, because one thing I would agree, this is a long-term relationship. One thing I would say, Gregory, though, that unlike your spouse, I think it might be easier to change your wealth manager. But but that should not be the premise. To that point, I do agree, Gregory, and I feel that the intention
That is
should.
a good point. That is a good point, Drew.
Yeah. I mean, so, but I think in principle, I'm aligned to what you said. In principle, I'm saying that you don't want to do it, right? Let's put it that way, right? Nobody wants to do it. So putting that little bit time and then being consistent with it, and the time in the market, then timing in the market. I think those are some of the bigger principles we would recommend customers to hear on to.
Final thoughts?
Yes. I will take my personal experience as an example.
I'll have to go also. See you guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you guys. Bye.
杜先生继续。
I was still alive. Yes, I will share my personal experience. I think there are easier way to invest instead of doing all the stuff by myself. For example, find the right fund manager and let them safeguard for you and let them invest for you. For example, EV or electrical vehicles are very popular, and probably the most the fastest growth sector for last year, this year, and probably the next 5 years. I don't have too much experience with EVs or supply chains. All I do is find the right fund manager and let them invest for me. All I pay is like a 1% fees or 1.5% fees, but comparing to their performance of like 100 or 50% a year, I think that's very cheap. And also individual investors' energy is probably very limited. So all I can, all the energies that I can spend on a single company is probably very limited. I can only invest in companies like Apple or Amazon or big car companies like Leo or Tesla. But there are other companies that need to be found and probably better investment targets, like their supply chains, the battery makers. They are probably better, or lithium or miners. Currently, they are better. So I think it's an easier way, and also it works for me.
Great.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chu, for your sharing.
Well, I guess we are running. We're overrunning. I just want to thank our speakers again. Thanks, Jasmine, and also our 3 support organizations. And again, you know what? I think thanks for the 100+ audience who still stick around with us. And I guess really the word Chinese word is there's a lot of wisdom, right? In Cantonese, 理財, 理財. There's a lot of wisdom, right? If you don't 你唔理財，啲財就唔理你啦, right? So we really have to spend time to learn about this field, and this is really our mission to provide more useful information like we have today. And definitely just count on us. We will come back with our other wealth tech related topics, because I guess there's just so much enthusiasm. I really want to share more with you. So just want to thank all of you online who stick with us for the past hour. Hopefully you can take away with something useful. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Chu.